I-42M have basically been my sister Jenna's, 29F, personal bank account for the past 5 years. And I don't mean like, hey, can I borrow $20 for gas, kind of situation. I'm talking full-on financial support, rent, utilities, groceries, clothes for her kid, school supplies, everything. I work at this factory that makes car parts. It's not glamorous, but it pays decent money if you're willing to work a ton of overtime, which I've been doing basically nonstop since Jenna's husband ditched her. My social life? What social life? I haven't been on a real vacation since 2019. Most weekends I'm either working extra shifts or helping Jenna with something broken around her apartment. It wasn't always like this. Jenna used to be married to this guy, I'll call him Nathan. He was okay, had a steady job as an electrician. They seemed pretty normal, had a kid together, my niece Lily, who's 7 now and actually pretty cool. But Jenna's always had anger issues. Like she'll seem fine and then just snap over nothing. She'd throw these massive tantrums and scream at Nathan over stupid stuff like him buying the wrong brand of cereal or not answering her texts fast enough. No surprise, Nathan eventually got fed up and left when Lily was about 2. I still remember getting that call from Jenna at 11 p.m., sobbing about how Nathan was a selfish bastard who abandoned his family. I later found out he had been telling her for months he was unhappy, but she didn't take him seriously. After the divorce, Jenna couldn't afford her apartment anymore. Her job at the mall paid garbage, and childcare costs are insane. This is where my parents, Frank and Helen, should have stepped in, right? But no, they've been living their retirement dream life since Dad got his pension. They travel like 4 months out of the year and renovated their house with one of those fancy kitchens from TV. When I suggested maybe they could help Jenna out financially, Mom just looked at me with this patronizing smile and said, "You're young and capable, Carl. You don't have any responsibilities yet. Jenna needs help now." So like an idiot, I agreed to temporarily help until Jenna got back on her feet. That was in 2020. It's now 2025 and guess what? Still helping. At first, it was just helping with rent. Then it was rent and utilities because electricity is so expensive in winter. Then it was groceries because Lily is growing and needs healthy food. Then it was clothes for Lily, school supplies, after-school activities, a new laptop because Lily needs it for school, she was in 1st grade, new furniture because the old stuff reminds me of Nathan, and on and on and on. Every time I tried to suggest maybe cutting back on some expenses, Jenna would pull one of her classic moves. Sometimes she'd start crying about how hard it is being a single mom, or she'd get super defensive and say I was being cheap. Her favorite tactic was using Lily as a shield, so you want your niece to go without basic necessities? And she loved to remind me how lucky I am that I don't have a family to support. Here's the thing about me, I've always been the family fixer. Middle child syndrome, maybe? I make jokes when things get tense, I try to keep the peace, I don't like conflict. Whenever I hand over money to Jenna that I know I'll never see again, I just make some sarcastic comment like, well, there goes my dream yacht, or I guess I'll just have to win the lottery now. Everyone laughs, situation diffused. But I'm still broke. I actually had dreams once. I was saving for a down payment on a house, had about $17,500 saved up when Jenna's life imploded. That money? Gone within the first year of helping her. I wanted to take some community college classes to maybe move up at work or get a better job. Can't afford it now. Even tried to date occasionally, but it's hard to take someone out when you're counting pennies after paying 2 sets of bills. About 8 months ago, Jenna finally landed a decent job as an admin assistant at an insurance office. Full-time with benefits. I thought maybe, finally, things would change. Maybe I could just help with Lily's extras or maybe just part of the rent instead of all of it. But the financial demands kept coming. Sometimes even more than before, because transitioning to a new job is expensive. Somehow she needed a professional wardrobe, and networking lunches, and all this other stuff that sounded suspiciously like, I want to buy new clothes and go out to eat. Meanwhile, I'm still driving my 2008 Honda with 192,000 miles on it, shopping at discount grocery stores, and using my phone until it literally dies because I can't afford a new one. Then I started noticing weird stuff. Not all at once, but little things that just didn't add up. First off, her money problems somehow got worse instead of better. Before, when she was working part-time at the mall, I kind of understood why she needed help. But now she's making money, not amazing, but definitely better than before, and she's still hitting me up for cash just as much, sometimes even more. One week she called me saying she couldn't make rent because she had to pay for Lily's school pictures. School pictures cost like $50, but her rent is $1,400. Make it make sense. When I'd go over to her apartment, I started seeing new stuff. Nothing super flashy, but definitely not bargain bin either. New throw pillows, brand name makeup on her bathroom counter. She even got one of those robot vacuum things. Who buys a robot vacuum when they can't afford their electric bill? The real red flag was when she showed up to our parents' house for Sunday dinner wearing these designer shoes. I only recognized the brand because this girl I dated was obsessed with them. They cost like $350 minimum. When I raised my eyebrow at her, she just shrugged and said they were on sale. On sale for what? $300 instead of $350? That's still ridiculous when I'm over here buying my work boots from Walmart. Then she started getting weird about her phone. She used to just leave it on the table or whatever, but suddenly she's taking it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom, and she jumped whenever it dinged with a notification. One time I walked in while she was texting, and she literally flipped her phone over like she was hiding nuclear codes or something. Her schedule got strange too. Before, she was always home with Lily in the evenings, but now she was asking me to babysit more and more, usually last minute. Emergency work thing, she'd say, or girls' night, I really need this for my mental health. And look, I get needing social time, especially as a single parent, but it was happening like 2 to 3 times a week. I started noticing how Lily was mentioning stuff that didn't make sense with Jenna's broke single mom story. Like one day I was picking her up from school, and she's telling me about this cool restaurant where they cook in front of you, obviously a hibachi place. When I asked who took her there, she said, "Mommy took me last week." So I'm sitting there thinking, I gave Jenna money for groceries last week because she said they were eating ramen for dinner every night, but somehow she had money for hibachi? That's like $70 to $80 for 2 people easy. I started paying more attention to Jenna's social media too. She wasn't posting anything suspicious directly, but she was tagging herself at places, nice restaurants, a winery, some concert venue, always with a group of work friends she'd never mentioned before. When I casually brought up one of these outings, "Hey, how was that Italian place you went to Tuesday?" She got defensive immediately. "Are you stalking my Instagram now?" Wow, Carl, controlling much? Then came last Saturday. Jenna showed up at my door holding this fancy bakery box. "Can I come in?" she asked, actually looking remorseful for once. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She put the cake on my kitchen table and started this obviously rehearsed speech about how she was sorry for not being totally transparent, and how she understood why I was upset, but couldn't we work something out? Maybe I could still help with rent until she got things sorted out? I just stared at her in disbelief. "You still don't get it, do you?" The words came out before I could stop them. "This isn't just about money. It's about the lying, the manipulating, using me for 5 years while hiding how you're really spending the money." "That's not fair," she said, getting defensive. "I did need help with necessities. Sure, not with fancy date nights and gifts from your secret boyfriend though. Do you have any idea what I've given up for you?" "It wasn't all your money," she muttered. "Don't exaggerate." I actually laughed. "Jenna, I've given you over $41,850 in the past 5 years. I calculated it." Her eyes got huge. I don't think she'd ever done the math. That's when I noticed something about the cake box. "What's this really for? You've never brought me cake as an apology before." She fidgeted with her earring, her tell when she's lying. "Just wanted to make things right." I noticed some writing on the cake partially visible under the box lid. I opened it fully to read, "Happy 6 months, Ben." It clicked instantly. "This is for your boyfriend, isn't it? Today's your 6-month anniversary with him." Her face went red. Well, yes, but I thought we could share it. I'm trying to include you in my life. Include me? I was getting louder. You didn't even buy this for me. You bought it for your anniversary, and what, he canceled so you thought you'd use it to butter me up instead? Ben didn't cancel, she snapped. He's meeting me later. I just thought. You thought you'd smooth things over with me so I'd keep paying your bills, then go celebrate with him using my favorite cake that I'm guessing you paid for with money I gave you for your electric bill last month? Fine, she shouted. Keep being a bitter, lonely loser. Ben loves me, which is more than anyone can say about you. That hurt more than I wanted to admit. If Ben loves you so much, I said with a cold smile, then congratulations. You finally found someone else to be your ATM. Though I'm guessing he doesn't know that's his role yet. Maybe check if his credit score can handle the Jen attacks before you get too attached. Her face contorted with rage, and before I could react, she grabbed the cake and smashed it directly into my face. Carrot cake went everywhere, in my eyes, up my nose, down my shirt. The heavy cake plate hit me hard enough to cut my lip. Go to hell, Carl, she screamed. You think you're so much better than everyone. At least Ben isn't a pathetic loser who has no life outside of work. I stood there, frosting dripping down my face, in complete shock. 29 years old, and my sister was throwing cake at me like a toddler having a tantrum. She grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door, then turned back. Don't expect to see Lily again if this is how you're going to be. That threat, using my niece as a weapon, was the final straw. Get out, I said, my voice deadly calm despite the cake covering my face. And don't come back until you're ready to act like an adult. Update 1, it's been 3 weeks since the cake incident, and things have escalated in ways I never expected. My face healed from the cut, but the situation with Jenna has gotten much worse, and better, in a way I never anticipated. After she left that day, my phone started blowing up with texts from my parents. Apparently, Jenna had already called them with her version of events where I was cruel and unreasonable, and she was the victim again. This time, I didn't ignore them. I took a picture of my still red face with the cut on my lip and sent it to the family group chat with one message. This is what your daughter did when I said I wouldn't pay her bills anymore. Still think I'm the problem? Dad's response? You know how emotional she gets. You shouldn't have pushed her buttons. Classic. Jenna acts like a psycho, and somehow it's my fault for pushing her buttons by checks notes, not wanting to pay her bills anymore. Uncle Mike was the only one who took my side. You pressing charges, was his first question. I wasn't, obviously. She's still my sister, and Lily would be traumatized if her mom got arrested. But the fact that someone finally acknowledged how messed up the situation was meant a lot. Meanwhile, Jenna launched a full PR campaign against me. She was telling everyone who would listen that I had abandoned her and Lily because I was jealous of her relationship. She even posted some vague crap on Facebook about toxic family members and finding out who really loves you. I could have just walked away at this point, cut contact, licked my wounds, and tried to rebuild my savings. But something in me had changed. I was done being the nice guy who takes the hit for everyone else. Uncle Mike met me for lunch a few days later. We were finishing our burgers when he looked at me real serious. Have you thought about what you're going to do next? Because your sister isn't just going to let this go. I shrugged. What can I do? The money's gone. Mike smirked. Maybe not. My buddy Marcus works at a debt collection agency. The legit kind, not the scammy ones. You got records of all the money you gave her? Every penny, I said. I've been tracking it in a spreadsheet for years. 3 days later, I was sitting across from Marcus, sliding a folder bulging with statements, Venmo receipts, and text screenshots across his desk. So your sister asked for money for rent and emergencies while buying $350 shoes, he said, flipping through the evidence. And taking secret boyfriends to fancy restaurants, I added. And you have texts where she explicitly acknowledges these were loans? I pointed to a highlighted section. Jenna, I swear I'll pay you back when I get on my feet. Me, you said that last month. Jenna, I mean it this time. Perfect. I can work with this. The official notice was delivered to Jenna's apartment 2 days later. Total owed, $41,850, including reasonable interest. Payment due immediately. Failure to respond would result in credit reporting, potential wage garnishment, and other legal remedies. My phone rang approximately 18 minutes later. Are you freaking serious right now? Jenna's voice was so shrill I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Hello to you too, sis. You sent a debt collector after me? Well, you know what they say, when someone throws cake in your face, send a professional to collect what they owe you. Or something like that. This isn't funny. They're threatening my credit score. That is serious. Maybe you could ask mom and dad for help. Or Ben, he seems to enjoy funding your lifestyle. Though I guess he thought he was dating an independent woman, not someone who's been mooching off her brother for 5 years. The screaming that followed was impressive. I let her go for about 30 seconds before interrupting. Look, it's simple. You borrowed money, you didn't repay it. Now you have a debt. Welcome to adulthood, Jenna. Those weren't loans. They were family helping family. Funny, I have about 50 texts that say otherwise. She hung up. I smiled and silenced my phone, knowing the family nuclear meltdown was about to begin. It didn't disappoint. Mom and Dad called 17 times in the next hour. I finally answered while fixing myself a sandwich. Have you completely lost your mind? Dad bellowed without preamble. Hi Dad, I'm doing well, thanks for asking. A debt collector against your own sister? Since she's allergic to personal responsibility, I thought I'd introduce her to professional responsibility. Mom cut in. Carl, you need to call this off immediately. Jenna is absolutely distraught. So was I when she smashed cake in my face. And when she spent the money I gave her for rent on her secret boyfriend. But please, tell me more about how I'm the bad guy here. This isn't who we raised you to be, Dad said gravely. You raised me to be a doormat? Weird, I must have missed that lesson. The conversation devolved from there. They cycled through guilt, threats, and appeals to family loyalty. You know what's really funny? I said eventually. I'm the only one who's ever held Jenna accountable for anything. Maybe if you'd done that years ago, we wouldn't be here. They hung up on me. Progress. Marcus called the next day. Your sister and her boyfriend came in, he said, sounding amused. Quite the performance. Let me guess, tears, screaming, threats to call the police? All of the above. But the boyfriend pulled me aside and asked how much it would take to make this go away immediately. I nearly dropped my phone. Seriously? He seemed very concerned about her credit score. Almost like he was planning something that required good credit. I told him a significant good faith payment would show seriousness, and he wrote a check for $6,000 on the spot. I burst out laughing. He what? Yep. And they signed a payment plan for the rest, $500 a month until it's paid off. Congratulations, you'll be getting about $350 a month after our fee. I hung up and did a victory dance around my living room. Best investment in a debt collector ever. Jenna's social media went suspiciously quiet after that. No more posts about toxic family, no more victim narratives. Just radio silence. The first payment hit my account the following week. I immediately used it to fix my car's AC, which had been busted for 2 summers. My parents are still giving me the cold shoulder, convinced I've committed some unforgivable sin against the sacred institution of family. Uncle Mike thinks it's hilarious. They'll come around, he said during our weekly lunch. Or they won't. Either way, you're not bankrupt anymore. The best part? For the first time in 5 years, I can buy the good coffee at the grocery store without calculating how many of Jenna's bills that money could cover. Freedom tastes like premium dark roast, and it is delicious. Update 2, it's been 2 months since my sister and Ben signed the payment plan, and wow, has a lot happened. Remember how Ben seemed suspiciously eager to protect Jenna's credit score? Well, there's a reason for that, and it's not because he's just a loving boyfriend. Last week, I got an unexpected call from Marcus at the debt collection agency. You might want to sit down for this, he said. Turns out, Ben had been doing some digging into my sister's finances because he was planning to propose and open a joint business venture with her. A franchise restaurant or something equally expensive. But here's the kicker, Ben already owns 2 failed businesses under different names, has defaulted on multiple loans, and is currently being investigated for financial fraud in 3 states. Your sister's boyfriend has a pattern, Marcus explained. He finds women with good credit scores, usually single moms, gets serious quickly, then uses their credit to secure business loans before disappearing with the money. I felt sick to my stomach. As much as Jenna had hurt me, she was still my sister, and Lily's mom. Marcus continued, we found out because he tried to use one of our clients' identities in Nevada last year. Want me to forward the documentation to Jenna? After everything that happened, I could have just let Jenna walk right into this trap. It would have been perfect karma, right? But I couldn't do that to Lily. So I called Uncle Mike for advice. Send her the proof, he said immediately. But do it through a lawyer. Make it official. She's less likely to dismiss it as you being jealous that way. That Friday night, Jenna received a certified letter containing all the evidence about Ben's past. I also had the lawyer include a note explaining that this information came to light during the debt collection process, and that while I was under no obligation to share it, I was doing so out of concern for her and Lily's well-being. The response was not what I expected. At midnight, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, Jenna was standing there, mascara running down her face, holding a bottle of wine. Did you read all of it? She asked, voice shaking. Yeah, I did. He was going to put the restaurant in my name. Said it was because he trusted me, but... She broke down completely. I almost let another man destroy my life. And you still tried to protect me after everything I did to you. It was the first genuine moment we'd had in years. I let her in, made coffee, the good stuff, and we talked until 3 a.m. Really talked, not just the surface-level conversations we'd been having for years. She admitted how after Nathan left, she'd been so desperate to prove she could make it that she started living in denial about her financial situation. I kept thinking if I just acted like everything was fine, it would be fine, she said. Then when I met Ben, he made me feel like I deserved all these nice things, like I didn't have to feel guilty about spending money. I wanted to believe him so badly that I ignored all the red flags. The next day, Jenna broke up with Ben. He didn't take it well, started threatening to sue her for the $6,000 he'd paid toward her debt. That's when Uncle Mike stepped in again. Turns out he'd been gathering evidence about Ben's other schemes. One phone call to Ben's parole officer, oh. Yeah. He had one of those too, and Ben disappeared from our lives as quickly as he'd entered. But here's where things get interesting. Remember how I mentioned I'd been tracking every penny I gave Jenna? Well, going through those records helped me realize something. I'm actually pretty good with financial planning. Uncle Mike noticed too. You know, Uncle Mike said during one of our lunches, my accounting firm could use someone with your attention to detail. The pay's better than the factory, and we could get you certified while you work. That's how, at 42, I found myself starting a new career. Turns out all those years of managing 2 households worth of finances actually gave me valuable experience. I'm now 3 months into my new job as a junior financial analyst at Uncle Mike's firm, taking night classes for my certification. After 20 years at the factory, it's a big change, but it feels right. The best part? I'm finally making enough to start rebuilding my savings. That down payment fund is slowly growing again, and this time, it's staying mine. I even started dating someone, an accountant I met through work. Her name's Diana, and unlike my past relationships that always fizzled because I couldn't afford to go anywhere, this one feels different. We're taking it slow, but it's nice to finally have someone to share that premium coffee with. As for Jenna, she's actually sticking to the payment plan. She took a financial literacy course, her idea, not mine, and started working with a budget counselor. Last week, she showed me her new spreadsheet for tracking expenses, and I have to admit, I felt a little proud. She's even started a small savings account for Lily's college fund, something she said she learned from watching me track every penny all those years. Our parents are slowly coming around, especially after the truth about Ben came out. Dad actually apologized last Sunday dinner, awkwardly, in that dad way where they tried to say sorry without actually saying the word sorry. Something about how sometimes tough love is the best kind of love. Mom's still a bit frosty, but she's trying. She actually asked me to help her set up a budget for their retirement, which I think is her way of showing she respects my financial knowledge now. Lily and I have our special uncle-niece days again. Last weekend, we went to the dinosaur museum, her choice, and she drew me a picture of a T-Rex wearing a tie because he's good with money like Uncle Carl. It's hanging on my office wall now, right next to my financial certification progress chart. The monthly payments from Jenna are still coming in regularly. It's not about the money anymore though, it's about the respect that comes with it. Each payment is like a small acknowledgement that my feelings and sacrifices matter too. She's even started adding little thank you notes with each payment, usually referencing some memory from when we were kids. Last month's note mentioned how I used to share my allowance with her to buy ice cream. Funny how things come full circle. Uncle Mike says this whole mess might have been the best thing that could have happened to both of us. Jenna's learning independence, I'm building a new career, and for the first time in years, we're having real conversations instead of just financial transactions. We even started a monthly family financial planning session, Jenna's idea, where we discuss our goals and progress. It's become less about the money and more about supporting each other's growth. The other day, Jenna brought coffee to my office, the expensive kind, from that fancy place downtown. "Remember how you used to joke about winning the lottery," she said. "I think we both won something better. We got our relationship back." She paused, then added with a smirk, "Though next time I bring cake, I promise to aim for your plate instead of your face." Sure, it took a cake to the face, a fraudulent boyfriend, and a debt collector to get here, but sometimes the best lessons come with a side of carrot cake frosting. And you know what? That premium dark roast still tastes like freedom, but now it tastes a little bit like hope too. Maybe that's what growing up is really about, learning that the sweetest victories aren't about getting even, but about getting better. My spreadsheets these days track more than just debts and payments, they track progress, growth, and the rebuilding of trust. And that's worth more than any amount of money I ever lent out.